welcome to episode 6 of Autoofftopic. I'm your host, Andrew. Joining me as always to help with the hosting duties is Brad.
Afternoon, Andrew.
How you doing?
Excellent. Yourself?
Pretty good. It's December.
It's cold. It snowed Monday, finally.
It snowed Monday, yeah. And they salted the roads.
Evil.
It's terrible.
It's awful.
So every old car that we have that's not going to be driven in the winter,
That's not already rusty. I'm not worried about.
is put away. So
No more cool updates.
nope.
On
all
driven
put
cars,
away.
anyway.
But I don't know why they use so much salt around here, because it was literally, it snowed like a dusting and then was going to get warm.
No, the problem was it flash froze. Like my driveway was an ice skating rink. I went outside to do laundry, and I pretty much slid down. I didn't fall, but I slid down the driveway.
So you went outside to do laundry because you have to go. You have a bulkhead you go through to get in your basement.
Yes, exactly.
That's why.
Yes, no inside access.
It wasn't. You had to go down the river and wash your against like a washboard.
No. I'm not. I have a bulkhead, so I'm in like 1925, not 1901 or 1825.
I think it's Big Salt, man.
Big Salt conspiracy.
Yeah, Big Salt.
Yeah, big Salt's looking on.
Because I mean,
I do and I don't.
It's not like salt is native here. You still have to truck it in.
It's a big business, obviously. I mean, you see the big. Every town has the, DPW shed with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds of salt in it.
And every year we hear about they blow through the salt budget by like
in the first couple of weeks.
Because they've used it all.
Well, it's a conspiracy not only from the salt company, and okay, I'm not going to use the word conspiracy because I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but it's big business all around because you have the salt company, and then you get the plow guys that make money being out there plowing and salting. So they want to work as many hours as they want, as they can.
Certainly should plow, but salt is like
right. But they're justifying their paycheck by using more.
But there's other parts of the country they don't use salt. They use like volcanic ash or like just straight sand.
I don't know what defines what gets used where. I know places that get a lot harsher of a winter than we do don't use salt as much. Like if you go way up north, there's a lot more.
Sometimes they don't even have a bare pavement policy. They just don't.
Yeah, well, hard packed snow is less slippery than frozen asphalt.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
it's not good for the environment. It like seeps into groundwater.
Yep.
If you've got like a well and you get salt in your well, you can have high salt in your
salt content in your drinking water.
And then your drinking water. Yeah, and then it hurts like fish and lakes and like wildlife.
Pets' feet when they're out walking.
Yeah, and then it destroys infrastructure too because it will soak. Because concrete is porous, right? So it soaks in and then it rots the rebar in like bridges and shit. And that's why around here, if you drive under a bridge,
you can see it.
You'll see it. You'll see
Well, it's a constant painting process around here on bridges.
Yeah,
too.
and then it's just chunks of concrete have fallen off.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. It seems like it would be cheaper in the long run to use something else,
or mandate a snow tire policy.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Is the thing that we immediately notice is that it ruins your car,
which is our most important part.
Yeah,
we don't care about the bridges and the streets.
But even if you aren't into that, like really into cars, like your car doesn't last that long here. Like cars that are more than 10 years old around here are not that common.
No, they're really not. Especially, the whole other story with current lease rates and things being so reasonable.
Yeah,
but even before that became a thing, 10-year-old cars here are junk.
No, because you'd go to have your car fixed at the mechanic, and he'd be like, "This is a fucking pile of shit. It's all rotted." And you'd be like, "All right, and I'll just get another car."
Yeah, it's not worth spending any money on this car.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's a big salt conspiracy with automotive manufacturers to sell new cars.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not. Probably not.
It's all big business,
Probably
and you can't say anything about it.
You're gonna find me in a salt pile.
Everybody wants to spend money somewhere and make money somehow, and that's just how it gets done. But speaking of that, your Montero is being undercoated right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Trying to protect it as best as I can.
Yeah, we're trying a new product this year. I think we touched on it before.
We did, because it lived in Colorado where they don't use road salt.
Right. They use the ash there or sand or both.
Something like that, but
or the cheese byproduct, whatever it is.
I think that's Wisconsin, because cheese.
Yeah, cheese.
But yeah, so it survived for fairly long, and it only has slight surface rust. It doesn't have rot, so we're trying to preserve it.
Yep.
And
Spraying some New Hampshire oil undercoating, which I'm sure we'll update you on next week and how it looks.
Yeah, I'll put up some pictures because I think you got
we got the tinted black.
The tinted black,
yeah,
so
see it.
It'll probably look like an oily black paint.
Probably like a wet POR 15 look, supposedly, but it's not paint.
But I also kind of wanted that. I was curious to see where it, because it does eventually wear off and has to be replaced.
Yeah, they say every couple of years.
So I'm curious to see where it wears. Just
anywhere the tire sprays.
Yeah, it just makes the underside of the truck look nicer. So I am thinking about selling it in the spring, so it'll make it look nicer, and it is an added selling point that it's been undercoated.
Yeah, it's been undercoated. Yeah. It's in good shape.
So that's good. You also told me the other day, you drove a 10-second car. What was the story with that?
I rode in a 10-second car.
You rode in a
drive
10-second
a 10-second car. Yeah.
Was it a quarter mile at a time?
It was not. Friend of the podcast.
Yeah.
Brad Anderson.
Oh, so you rode in his Eclipse?
Yes.
Oh, DSM content.
Yes. It was fast.
So he just put the transmission in it.
Put the transmission in it with a welded center diff.
Because the car was completely built except for the transmission.
The stock transmission.
The stock transmission.
100,000 mile plus stock transmission. And it had
finally broke.
Hundreds of quarter mile passes on it. And we were talking, the car ran, I think, 10.7.
Yeah. Before it got thrown out of the track for not having a cage.
Right. So the car was really fast.
Yeah.
But I've never ridden in a car that was 10.7 before or a 10-second car before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fast. It completely reconfigures your brain as to what fast is. And I again, listeners of the podcast know that I drive 40-year-old Dodge Colts with 75 horsepower. So going from the car I drove there in to his 10-second Eclipse was kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
So somebody welded the center diff so it's not the viscous anymore.
Correct.
So it's just solid. So
Correct.
It's a 50-50 lock.
You don't notice it driving around town. Slow speeds, like a hard right turn. If you come off, put the foot in the clutch and coast, it's enough to stop the car. But other than that, it's totally normal.
Because the rear diff is still stock, I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is a factory that was a LSD.
Limited slip diff, yep.
Yeah, viscous type. And then the front, at least stock, was open.
I think it's still open.
It's still open?
Yep.
But I think he runs... Does he even run drag slicks on that? No, he doesn't.
There's street tires on it now.
Street tires.
Yeah.
He still ran 10s.
And it hooks.
That's crazy. Yeah,
it's a cool car. It's a very, very cool car.
Yeah, we'll have to talk DSMs with him one day.
Yeah, it's a very cool car. And then he let me drive his Galant because I needed some Galant driving time.
Oh, yeah, Galant VR4s.
Yep.
So, we're going to go to, let's talk about, we had a couple unanswered questions. And one of them was about Galant VR4s, because we had kind of touched on the question that gets asked all the time is how many are left? And we're like, well, if that person went to the forums, they could look it up and see. But
so we did. And, I'll start out. So the Galant VR4, if you don't know, it was a special edition model that was made. It was homologation.
It was a homologation special car that Mitsubishi built, I believe, it was the Galant that was built from 87 till 93.
Okay.
But the VR4s, which were available outside of the United States before that, 88 through 93, but they were only available in the United States from 91 and 92.
Correct.
And they were brought in as special editions. And they were sold with numbered badges.
But numbered badges that did not correspond to the factory to a VIN number.
No, they don't. They were just, as they rolled into the port, the guys were probably just given badges in batches, and they were just stuck on the cars. So that kind of gives U.S. enthusiasts a way to track them a bit. And there is a loose registry on the form of where the cars are and who has what car. And also, when a car gets parted out, they do kind of retire the badge so they know where it went.
So you know it's junk.
And I'll get to part outs in a second. But so basically, when you look into Mitsubishi Caps, which is their parts program, which lists all of the VIN numbers for U.S. cars, there were 3,005.
Which some were probably press cars.
Yes. So and the model is an E39A.
The chassis destination.
The chassis destination.
Yep.
So, and they think that so there's a pretty good understanding that at least 4 of those didn't have badges, and they were probably pre-production cars, press cars, show cars.
Yeah, cars that came in early.
And then they got scrapped, or maybe they just ended up just quietly being sold off or something, or they were like an executive's car or something.
Yeah, who knows?
I know
They've all since disappeared by now.
Yeah, I know when I worked for the Mitsu dealer, and I had purchased my Glot VR4, the district rep came in and he was like all excited because he had one when they were new as a loaner.
Oh, like one from Mitsubishi.
From Mitsubishi as a loaner
That's cool.
to drive, because he would get new cars every now and then. So maybe his was one of the ones without a number plate.
Did he remember if it had a number plate? Or you didn't think to ask him back then?
I didn't think to ask him back then. But so there aren't that many cars to begin with. There's only 3,000.
Yeah, 3,000 total.
And they're only made from 91 to 92, or imported rather.
Yep.
And it's, unfortunately, for a lot of years, they weren't worth a lot of money. And they just kind of and they were fast.
It became the cheap speed car.
And they were cheap. So,
like a 15-year-old WRX now.
Exactly. So a lot of them ran real hard and put away wet. And now there's some pretty good conjectural evidence from a lot of people on the forums and in the Glot VR4 community. So,
not seen, by the way.
Yeah, it's estimated. Well, it's a pretty good estimate that less than 1,000 of these cars still exist.
Correct.
Whether they're on the road or in somebody's garage.
In some aspect, they could be made roadworthy again, supposedly.
That's what I'm. That's my. But and then some people even think that it could be less. It could be even like 500.
I'm betting the number's more.
There's probably
than that.
between 500 and 1,000 left.
Well, I know there are 4 within 2 square miles of here.
That's kind of weird.
Kind of weird, yeah.
There's 2 down the street from my house that aren't. He's not on
They're
any
not
of the
on the
forums.
registry.
Yeah, he's not on the
in
registry.
Guy's yard, so it's 2 more there.
I keep. I haven't.
We should just stop in someday.
I know. I haven't seen him in the yard. I keep meaning to. One day I did see him, but I was doing something else. I couldn't stop. So at some point I will stop and talk to him.
Or even if you don't talk to him, I can just leave a note in the window.
Yeah, exactly.
Or leave one of my business cards in the window or something. You probably should do that.
The other thing that's interesting too is there's some info on the Glot VR4. So my particular car, it doesn't have a sunroof. You could either get them. They all came with leather seats,
right?
And they only came in white, black, and green for 91, and then it was white, black, and Kensington gray for 92.
For 92, yep.
So very limited colors, all the same interior, all the same trim with leather. The differences were some got fancier radios and some got sunroofs. So mine got the equalizer radio, because I looked this up when I worked at the dealer. I could look it up in caps and see what original radio it came with.
I'm not sure which radio mine had.
So mine came with that, and it didn't have a sunroof, and it was white.
Mine is white.
It is white.
Mine is also white without a sunroof.
So possibly yours is like mine, where it's one of 93 cars.
No, it definitely is, considering it's the same car.
Yeah. Well, it depended on what
equalizer radio.
It depended on what radio it had.
And that doesn't matter anymore, though, because both cars have long since lost their factory radios.
So, and then what's interesting is mine had a factory black grill, and some of them had chrome grills.
Mine has a chrome grill, whether it was factory or not.
We'd have to check the VIN.
Yeah.
But so, and then the other thing that happens too is these cars is there's a lot of part outs. Like currently, if you go on the forums right now, there's 4 being parted out,
which is sad.
It's sad, but in the same vein, a part out helped me put mine back together because I needed a bunch of little random parts that were missing.
Yeah, I guess, and mine wouldn't be together either without a part out. So.
And
I have enough parts to build another one almost. So
it's true. We just need to find another good chassis and we can put one together. But
yeah.
So anyway, that's the story with Glot VR4s. Oh, the other thing too is they are not DSMs.
No, because they're built in Japan.
They're built in Japan.
Yep. There's no partnership with.
They share the same
Chrysler.
front subframes. They share the same rear subframe, and the engine. But there's several differences, like MAF.
DSM being Diamond Star Motors,
yes.
the Mitsubishi Chrysler collaborative plant in Illinois.
Yeah, so those were. So a DSM is a Eclipse Talon or Laser that was built in the Normal, Illinois plant.
Correct.
That is the definition of a DSM. It does not cover 3000 GTs or Stealths. Those are not DSMs.
It also does not cover Stratuses and Gallants and other cars that eventually were built in that plant.
Nope. Yeah.
They're not DSMs. They might have a DSM part number sticker on them somewhere, but it's not because they're DSMs. They're not part of that partnership.
Nope. So that's a pet peeve that people always get
Evos
wrong.
also are not DSMs.
They're not DSMs. No.
They all just have 4G63 engines. That's the common ground. They all have the same engine. That's the only thing that's the same.
Mm-hmm. All right. Enough on those for tonight.
Right. Let's move off of Mitsubishi and get people listening again.
So we also asked about is VW Vortex the biggest car forum?
Last week we were talking about
Last
that.
week.
Yep.
And I remember like 10 years ago it was, so I tried to find out. And the best thing I could come up with is that in at least 2012, it was the biggest forum. It still appears to be the biggest
It's
forum.
still very large. Yeah.
It probably is. And then it made sense that if people stop maybe keeping track of them in 2012, because that seems to be when
the fall off.
Facebook groups really started to take off. And then, of course, it went in pretty good order as far as size. When I looked it up, it was VW Vortex, Nico Club,
That's
Nissan's Infinity, and then Bimmer Forums, and then Naziok, and then Honda Tech. Which
Naziok is the Subarus.
Subarus, which makes those are all really big forums, so that makes sense.
They're very big enthusiast cars.
Yep, very big enthusiast cars.
Whereas, there's more Toyotas on the road, but less people are, enthusiasts of their Camrys, so there's not going to be a big Toyota
Yeah,
forum.
there won't be a big forum.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's our unanswered questions from last week. And then we had a couple corrections and omissions. We talked about a couple of Facebook car groups, and Bradley Brownell from Camden Tub points out, because we talked about these.
We had kind of guessed at who started each group, and we got it a little mixed up.
So he corrected us. So Cameron Vanderhurst coined the term jail car. So if you listen to Camden Tub and you go to some of their back episodes, you'll learn what jail car is. I'm not going to explain it. You should go find out what it is because it's really fun.
Yep.
And then Bradley started a Facebook group called Jail Cars Unlimited. And
4 pictures of
jail cars, Craigslist postings. So you can just go on Facebook. You can request to join. I'm sure somebody will approve you. It's a fun little group to kind of dick around in. And then Bradley Brownell also created a group called Why You Ruin Classic.
And Why You Ruin, as in the letter Y,
Yeah.
and then RUNE, and Classic with a K.
Yeah.
And the niche there is ruined old cars, and then when you type about them, you have to do it in all capitals.
Yep. So
and
there's
misspellings, and it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it's very fun.
There's a little crossover between jail cars, but it's still fun. It's a fun, shit posting kind of Facebook group.
Right.
And then he also started the Flying Car and Self-Preservation Society, which is a great one to...
Old jumping rally cars and F1 cars.
Yep. Or I don't know if he started it, but he heads it. Yeah, that's a good one. And then we have...
The Sundown Stripes group we talked about.
I Heart Sundown Stripes.
Yep.
Which it was hard to find at first because it has an actual heart emoticon, so it's I Heart emoticon.
Right, which I didn't know how to type on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. Stripes.
Because
Sundown
I'm old.
Stripes. And that is a creation of Peter Zillix, who is a.k.a. Tan Shinomi on like Hooniverse and stuff, and I guess basically the internet. And he leads, if you're into motorcycles, you should look up the False Neutral podcast. And
That's a very good one.
It's very good.
Yeah,
it's all about motorcycles.
Very informative, too.
I listen to it occasionally because I'm not as into motorcycles as you are, Brad.
I haven't missed an episode.
Yeah, it's good. And an honorable mention also goes to Obscure Cars for Sale, which I don't think I belong to, but I think you
probably
are.
should.
Yeah.
Go CFS.
Yeah.
That's where I find all the cool stuff and Craigslist listings that I forward to you.
So I don't need to.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I have the Brad.
This is why I'm currently on I need to buy an XR4 Ti kick.
You curated it me.
Yeah, because they're all posted on there.
They're super cheap right now.
They're super cheap. I don't understand why. Because they're a cool car. They're a 2.3 Ford motor, the same as the
rear-wheel drive.
Rear-wheel drive,
I think
turbo.
It came with an LSD, right?
Some of them came with an LSD, not every one of them.
Yeah,
but it's the same motor that's in the Mustang SVO.
But it's an independent rear suspension. It's not a live
independent rear suspension, and it's just a cool-looking oddball car with a weird number of windows and stacked spoilers on some of them.
Exactly. How can you go around with stacked spoilers?
I don't understand why they're not more popular. So it's not going to be long, probably, before I own one.
I would daily one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a daily pretty soon, I think. But within the next year or so, I'm really starting to look.
So project car updates. What do you got?
Well, little update. What did I talk about last week with the Starion? Had I driven yet? Or just started
You were gonna drive it around the block.
Okay, it has driven around the driveway neighborhood, and it runs awesome. It drives awesome. It still stops. It still goes. It still does everything it's supposed to do like a car. It still has some holes in the floor. They're not as bad as I remembered them being. which is good because I expected to pull it out because it's been sitting for 3 years. Mm-hmm. I expected that because it wasn't really stored properly, I was going to pull it out and it was going to be a disaster. But it wasn't. The patch panels that I've already replaced are still serviceable. I just need to scuff them down and reprime them and coat them again. Once I evicted all the mice from their homes, they made it in the car, which is unfortunate. But again, the car had no taillights in it, so the taillight pockets are open.
Oh.
And it had the floor had giant holes cut the rust out. So obviously mice are going to get in there. Mm-hmm. They created their own little world inside the car that I slowly dug through. Once I got through it, it wasn't bad. So it's not going to be long before that's back on the road either, because mechanically it doesn't need anything. Yeah. It just needs
a lot of welding.
Because
it looks like Swiss cheese.
It does look like Swiss cheese. And it's going to be ugly. I'm not going to make it pretty. We're just going to weld it up, fix it up, put some crappy paint on it of whatever color we have lying around.
Seal it.
Just to seal the new sheet metal in. And then probably just to make it look better. I know, Andrew, we talked about just doing like a nice even white coat of like Plastidip or something over it. Something really cheap to make it look halfway one color.
You can buy that Duplicolor cans of paint at like a auto store. They're pretty cheap.
The Plastidip style?
No. They're like Duplicolor. No, they're like Duplicolor paint shop. I did my OZ wheels in them.
Yep.
And they're
little like, quartz you had.
Yeah, and they're pre-mixed, ready to go in an air gun. So they had primer. You could just prime it.
Yeah, so I plan on doing is priming it and then painting it with a base coat because primer isn't weather sealed.
Yeah, so you could do the primer and then just buy their white. I think they have plain white paint.
Yeah, even maybe it's white paint. Who knows? Who knows what's going to look like? And if it doesn't look good, then we'll do something else over it. Because I want to keep it cheap. Basically, is the plan. Because I don't want to make it fancy. We're just going to enjoy it. It's going to be an event car, a daily driven event car. TSD rallies, road rallies, autocross, maybe a rallycross, depending on how nice it comes out.
And then you're still looking for a head for the Raider.
Looking is not really the word.
No.
I haven't really started looking. I found a couple, but I want to pull it apart still before I...
Oh, that's right.
I don't want to buy a head until I pull the head off and make sure it doesn't need a whole motor.
That's right. We should pull that in and go through it.
It's just the end of, everything that's going on. I mean, I spent last week, I did shackles on the rear suspension of the family community plow truck. My father and your father, who live across the street from one another, use it together
to plow their yards.
They love to plow in their S10s. I don't know why. Whoa, that was not a... They love to plow the yard in their S10s. Sorry, Dad. But anyway, because they're plow trucks, they get driven not... We're going to have to edit that out, Andrew, I think.
I leave that.
At least this breakdown of laughter afterwards. Because they like to use the trucks strictly for the wintertime, they get very rusty.
They buy them pre-rusted.
Yeah, they buy them pre-rusted, and they get more and more rusty. So the things are always breaking, unfortunately. So what happened was recently...
Fucking 90s GM.
Yeah, well, we have all new brake lines in the rear. And then we just...
fucking brakes. You're just plowing into a snowbank.
Hey. I make fun of
I guess backing up, you want to brake.
Yeah, I make fun of his truck all the time, and then every time I borrow it, he reminds me that I make fun of it. So I shouldn't make fun of the truck, because it does work and do what it's supposed to do usually. But it did need new suspension shackles, because they were all destroyed and broken. So that's that was the extent of my car projects this week. I fixed the suspension in the truck.
So I went up to and helped our buddy Jordan out with his 05 STI that he's turning into a SCCA rallycross car. That he seems to be able to do like one event and then something like breaks.
Yeah, it's 11 years old now.
It is an 11-year-old car with 150K in it that he's probably put 140 on it.
Yeah, he bought it almost new, I think.
So it basically, we're just doing maintenance stuff to it. It's not really a big deal, but we had the factory power steering lines had either they rotted out or whatever, they cracked and they were leaking. So he found a form thread, and how to replace the power steering lines with braided stainless ones, and with a listing of all the parts. And then just happened to end up with the wrong adapters to go from the braided stainless to the factory rack.
The AN fittings.
Yeah, the wrong AN adapters to go from the metric fittings to the braided line, which apparently it's this like Saginaw style, so it's for an O-ring. Mm-hmm. And we didn't use the wrong ones. We used ones that looked like they were for a flare. So it didn't leak at first, and then it started leaking and pissed all the power steering fluid out.
Yeah, once the pressure built up, it was kind of a mess.
So, but it was, and on an STI, it is a fucking pain in the ass to do this because when we first did it, we actually dropped the rack down, and then the second time we did it, we had to do CV boots, and the CV boot and axle on the passenger side sort of occupies the same space of where they come through the subframe. So when we did it with the axle out, and it seemed to work easier. But then this last time, I guess we were just getting so good with it, we just left everything in place. Basically,
Didn't pull the axle this time.
Didn't pull the axle. Didn't lower the.
Well, it's funny because I called you at like 11 o'clock. I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And you're like, "Hey, I'm just leaving."
Yeah.
Like, wow, that was quick.
Yeah, I was like, third time's a charm. I guess we're really good at it.
Yeah.
So if you need power steering lines done in your like GD body style WRX, we can do it.
We promise it won't leak.
Yeah. And then, then of course, like he hates when I go under his car because I always find shit. So we did.
Right. Well, because you're always under his car like a week before the next rallycross event,
exactly.
and you find something that will make it not possible to drive at the next rallycross event.
Well, I'm always about preventative maintenance or trying to find stuff before it breaks.
No, it's cheaper to fix it in the driveway than it is to tow it home.
Yeah. So we did the passenger side, both inner and outer CV boots, because the inner one was torn. So you get the whole axle out. You might as well do both. Put new OEM ones on. And then I'm looking at the other side. Jordan noticed a little bit of like axle grease, kind of like spurted out, but real small amount. I was like, that's weird. So I'm like spinning the boot. I'm spinning the axle around. Got my flashlight on it, looking at it, and I could see these little tiny pinholes.
Like dry rot or
something, but maybe they must have dry rotted or something. And then apparently, as it's spinning, it's just kind of forcing grease out.
Like pressurizing.
Yeah, it just spurts out. So
centrifugal force.
It's not like torn, like you totally drive the car. But we're just we've got like 5 weeks to the next event. We're just going to replace the CV axle boots because it's an easy job to do in a morning. And why let it go?
Why let it get worse?
Yeah. And then the other thing, the car's got 150K in it, so the valve cover gaskets are leaking.
Right.
Like a lot of oil. And of course, because the way the heads are set up, the horizontal, so it must it must pool in the edges.
And it pours down.
And then it pours down, and it's actually pouring on part of the header, so you don't want that.
Well, I'd like to remind Jordan, I'm sure he's listening, that next time I'm at his house, the oil spots in the driveway are his own.
Maybe.
Not from my car.
Well, he's borrowing my truck, so there's probably oil spots.
That's a valid point.
Because he got his brand new truck undercoated, so
right.
It doesn't turn into a rusty mess. So he borrowed the garbage Montero, and I heard he enjoyed driving that around.
Right.
With the telescoping steering wheel, and
he doesn't fit.
No, he doesn't fit apparently. Apparently only I fit. Or whatever.
He's just spoiled by driving a 15
exactly.
Xterra.
15 Xterra. Which I got to drive over the weekend. And we'll get to that right now. So was it
Sunday?
It was Sunday.
Yep.
Yes. So Sunday, Jordan and I met up with a group called New England Flatlanders. So they are an overlanding off-road group from Connecticut, and that's why we call them New England Flatlanders, because that part of New England is kind of flat. It's not really mountainy. So
there's not much overlanding to do in Connecticut, I didn't think.
No, I didn't think so either. But they are a couple of the members are Connecticut State Troopers as their profession. So they kind of knew some places where it was legal to go off-roading and where to explore. And we met up in the I-84 area near Stafford Springs.
Yeah, this was a Toys for Tots run.
So I'm getting there. So this was we met up for a Toys for Tots run, and Aaron, one of the guys that runs the group, he is a state trooper, but he's on the other side of the state. So he called the local state trooper barracks, and he contacted the person who was in charge of their Toys for Tots drive this year, and that trooper met us, and we filled the entire back of his Crown Vic with toys, which if you know how big the back of a Crown Vic is, that is a lot of toys. So that was really cool. We had about there was like 12 trucks, mostly Jeeps. Xterra, couple.
And they limited it to 12, I think.
Limited to 12 because the
land is kind of it's special permission to use it, I think.
Yes, and the trails are a bit delicate, and because it was colder, and then it got a little sloppier in the afternoon because it melts and you get muddy, so we didn't want to tear it up. Because the other thing we were doing, we were going to clean up the trail system too, because there's people that go out there that don't give a fuck, and they just throw
trash
and
machetes apparently.
Yeah. So we spent probably from like 10 till 2 o'clock. We were out running some trails and picking up trash as we went along. And we filled 3 30-gallon trash bags. All sorts of stuff. Beer cans.
Common, of course.
Yeah. I mean,
cheap beer.
Cheap beer. It belonged in the trash anyways.
Yeah, teenagers in the woods partying beer.
Yeah, exactly. There was like 2 unopened bottles of Twisted Tea, which belonged in the trash anyways.
Right. Well, that just means their party got broken up and they threw it as they ran.
Yeah, exactly. So we ended up at this spot where they have a lot of campfires and stuff. So we're up there cleaning up, and there's this old New England style stone wall that kind of runs through the woods, and I just kind of went over.
Property divider in New England. That's how they divided them, and less.
So I always look at those and I think of like the Shawshank Redemption. Like I'm going to go over and I'm going to find like a little treasure or something, and the note from Andy Dufresne. So I was over there, I was looking at it, and I was like, and then I see this thing, and it was just like a Harbor Freight machete just sitting in there all rusty.
Yeah.
So we picked that up, threw it away.
We hope there wasn't evidence in a murder sometime.
That's what I said. I was like, I got my fingerprints all over it now.
Yep.
But yeah, that was real fun. We did like a nice little water crossing.
I didn't make this trip, unfortunately, but I saw some pictures. I wouldn't call it a water crossing. That was like an ocean. That was pretty deep.
My truck probably would have gotten water in it because the seals aren't that good. I didn't bring my truck because I rode with Jordan. Because it was limited to the amount of trucks, and plus sometimes it's fun to just ride with someone, so you're not sitting alone all day. You can talk to someone. Even though we have CBs between all the trucks, it's just fun to ride with someone. Plus, I had my camera, so I actually did a lot of walking because everybody was going so slow. I walked up and down,
taking pictures.
Yep. So, which if you follow Autoofftopic on Facebook or on Instagram, you probably saw that I already posted some pictures.
Yeah, there was a link to a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a link to a bunch of them.
15 of them or so.
And New England Flatlanders is on there too. You should follow them because they're doing some nice stuff. And
it's hard to find good off-road groups around here. So
exactly.
They're in Connecticut. They're not right here in Eastern Mass, but
nope.
Anything within a couple-hour drive is close.
Nope.
So
and basically, like they were saying, it's overlanding is kind of off-roading with a purpose.
Right.
You're not just going out to just go mudding and tear shit up. You kind of go with like
exploring
and enjoying the outside. Yeah. So we're gonna have some other episodes where we talk more about that, but
yeah, as newbies at the overlanding thing ourselves.
Yeah. So but if you need, or you should go follow them on Instagram and on Facebook because they were talking about they're probably gonna do like it might not be a trail run, but they'll probably do like a midwinter meetup or something.
Right, which you can just get to know the people and maybe
yeah, there's a lot of great people.
Make good connections.
It's very family oriented too.
Yeah.
So
it's also very Jeep heavy, like any off-road group is.
It's Jeep heavy,
but they're accepting of anybody.
They'll take anyone. And there's a couple guys with 4Runners, and one guy with a 4Runner had his wife and his 2 young kids, and they had a blast.
Yeah, everybody's their kids and their dogs, and they go places.
Yeah, because
enjoy time out in the woods.
Yeah, it's low speed. You're just cruising along. It's great.
Picnic lunch.
Mm-hmm. Well, we actually went to. We waited till the end, and then we went over. There's some great New York style delis in that area.
Oh, Connecticut area. Yeah,
and
sure.
I had some. I've seen the billboard on it a million times because I drive that part of 84 pretty often. And let's see, I had a pastrami Reuben on marble. It was amazing. It was awesome.
What was the place the billboard was from?
I think it was Ryan's New York style deli.
Oh yeah. I remember seeing those in 84 out that way.
Yeah, it was a huge billboard.
Yep.
I saw a new billboard sign for that. It's that hotel with the A name that we stayed at for the Rallycross.
I don't even want to talk about that.
It was awful.
It was a horrible hotel.
So, yeah, I told that story to Jordan. But yeah, that's the other thing. We'll be down there again, hopefully in February. They're doing the Rallycross down there at Stafford Springs. So,
it's in February this year. Good.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. What else?
Speaking of Toys for Tots, there's another one coming up at the Cars and Coffee that we go to, Southern New Hampshire.
The one in Salem.
Yeah, the one in Salem, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Clough Crossing. It's December 11th. Wait, hold on. Yeah, December 11th, so that's this weekend.
That's Sunday.
Oh,
cool.
So there will be a Toys in... Toys
again won't be around, but yeah.
Well, there'll be a toy drive there at the Cars and Coffee, so it'll probably be cold, it'll probably be gross, we're probably hanging out inside most of the time, but it's definitely worth going. So check that out if you can on Facebook. It's Southern New Hampshire Cars and Coffee. That's the one at Clough Crossing in Salem, New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's a great thing, if you're kind of, light on cash or something, but you still want to donate, is just like those 5-packs of like Hot Wheels cars.
Yeah, $5.
They're like $4 or $5, yeah.
What kid wouldn't want to get that?
No, exactly.
And it's car related.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
It's perfect. So, real quick, Grand Gear Top Tour.
Right. Grand Tour.
Yeah.
Which was actually a Grand Tour this week.
Why wasn't that the first episode?
I don't know.
That
it should have been the first
explained
episode.
everything.
Yeah. Explained the name and explained
and it
everything
was like,
going
wow,
on.
this is what Top Gear used to be.
Yep.
This is what I want. This is the hits.
It had the correct amount of making fun of fat Americans.
Play the hits.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was very entertaining. I enjoyed it. I don't want to talk too much about it because every other podcast does, and people can just go see it. Don't want too many spoilers.
But that's what it was.
It was fun. I enjoyed watching it. It was 3 years ago Top Gear. So I liked it.
Scaled project cars.
No big updates from you, I don't think.
No,
A little bit of an off week.
I left it alone. I didn't touch it.
Well, Andrew, since you guilted me into fixing a certain aspect of the kit.
Yeah, so the Fujimi kit, the seats were molded without backs. So
Right, it's like an open back. It looks like a hollow void, I guess you'd call it.
It's just a cheap way to make kits. That's why.
So we had a discussion back and forth over Google Chat about whether or not we were going to fill them in or not.
So you need to fill that.
And
it looks
Andrew's
terrible.
Like, yeah, you gotta take care of that. You gotta take care of that. So I spent probably close to 2.5, 3 hours last night trimming little pieces of plastic to fill in the back of these seats. And I sent Andrew a picture once I was done, and he goes, "Oh, you went with it." I just put it in my car. So I was like, "You son of a." So I spent all this time doing something you convinced me to do, and you didn't even do it.
Well, I realized that I couldn't remember where my flat styrene stock was, and I didn't want to go looking for it. And I was like, I'll just put it in there.
Well, now you take them out and do it. So
Nope. Already glued in. Not coming out.
anyway, so nonetheless, I finished the backs of the seats. I finished the chassis on mine. I'll have to put some pictures up. I haven't put pictures up of mine yet.
Yeah, I got my chassis all done. Interior's
so
glued to
I've
it.
pretty much caught up with you.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm waiting on now is I had to order some of that. I think we talked about the black trim around the windows.
Were you you were happy with the paint though? You didn't have to strip it?
Nope, I fixed it.
Oh, you fixed it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was happy with the paint once I sanded it down and polished it. It was really orange peely, but it was just the nature of how it went down.
Yeah, I started
floated out.
to clean my airbrushes because they were kind of gummed up, and I just didn't. I had to go buy some latex gloves. I didn't have any because I need to use the airbrush solvent instead of
It's
the
like paint thinner.
Yeah, so, and the alcohol the 91% alcohol only removes so much, but you got to use the actual solvent stuff, which I don't want on my hands. So clean that up because it was sticking. The big needle inside was sticking before I do the clear coat on the car. What else? Anything else?
As far as scaled project cars go, no, that was pretty much it for that car.
What did you do to? Did you play with some Hot Wheels? You didn't really play with them, but you detailed up some.
Yeah, took a little break from working on the Fujimi kit, and it's Hot Wheels have a. If you collect Hot Wheels, this is again being our nerdy car hobby. It's wintertime. This is what's going to happen from now time to time. I collect die-cast cars too, and Hot Wheels they have a budget they have to stick to. So you buy a Hot Wheels car, and if it's got designs on the sides of the Hot Wheels car, it won't have any designs in the front and the back.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they have either the front or the back or left and right on the basic 99-cent Hot Wheels cars. So there's a lot of molded in detail in them that if you spend a little time with a brush and toothpick and some fine tipped things, you can bring out some of the detail and really kind of bring them to life, make them look a little bit more than a dollar die-cast car that they are. Because the details are there, they're just hidden under paint. Mm-hmm. So I did a few of those just to kind of take my mind off of the big project of the Fujimi kit. So
yeah, I've done I'm looking at it over on the shelf. I've done the 510 wagon where I painted the grill black.
Yeah, I made the grill black.
And then I painted the headlights silver because I don't know, it makes them look more like headlights. And then I did the inside, the high beams, like I did in yellow, and I painted the oil cooler and gave it a little wash so it looks more like a actual oil cooler.
Just gives it depth.
Yeah, it gives it some depth.
Makes it look real.
You add taillights and stuff.
Yeah.
I did the same thing with the Celica. Mm-hmm. I have a yellow version of is it
TA22
Celica,
first body style,
and I painted because it comes with a chrome lip spoiler, the chin spoiler.
Yep.
So I just kind of painted it semi-gloss black, so it looks a little more racy.
Yep. So it would be a chrome spoiler on the car. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's kind of the same stuff I did a Porsche and whatever else.
Well, you did the fancy Porsches, the Track Day Bro Porsches.
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, it was not that.
Oh, it was just the regular.
No, it was the regular 99-cent.
But that was the Magnus one, right?
They just came out with a Magnus Walker. Hot Wheels. That's a 934. Yeah, 934.
Is that like the car he actually has? Is he on 934s?
I have no idea. I didn't follow enough. I know he's got a 930 and he's got a bunch of earlier 911s.
Yeah.
And he has a 964 now.
I thought that was the weird thing. Like the Hot Wheels car didn't match up with the...
No, because he did the 356 Magnus Walker Urban Outlaw car, which he doesn't have any of those either. But whatever, it's branding. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. So I don't think I have anything else this week, sir.
Nope. So
slow car week.
Yeah, a little slow in the car week. So we weren't going to do any listener questions this week. I think we'll try to do it maybe every other week.
Yep.
Just so it doesn't get too repetitive. I don't know. Anything else?
No, just plug the social media and head on.
Yeah, it will be a little late this week, but that's all right.
Not really. It's been 45 minutes.
40 minutes. So you can follow Autoofftopic at on Facebook and Autoofftopic on Instagram. And you can follow my personal Instagram, which is Raced in Anger. You can also, if you have any questions, comments, corrections, you can email us at autoofftopic@gmail.com.
Corrections especially, because we love to learn.
Yep. I love giving facts, and I don't mind explaining things. And what else? Oh, the shoot. What was I lost my thought.
Nope, that's not good on the air.
Nope, it's not.
Dead air.
Dead air.
So you can find my stuff at Vintage Imports NE on Instagram, Vintage Imports of New England on Facebook, and you can email me at the Autoofftopic email, or you can email me at brad@vintageimportsne.com with any questions or things, or if you want to have any questions about Vintage Imports.
Oh, and always, that's what I was going to say, is rate, review, and share the podcast, please.
Yeah, please share it.
We'd appreciate that.
Yeah, more listeners, the better.
And
we're working some things out right now, I think, to get some guests together for first of the year, I think.
If not first of the year, definitely the beginning part of the year. I'm going to do some equipment upgrades,
use those sweet Christmas Amazon gift cards.
Yeah, add some stuff so we can have more than 2 mics.
Yeah.
I also, discovered that the way the recorder works, it can work as a USB interface for mics. So
right through the computer.
So we can do stuff through the computer, and so we hope to get some guests and maybe some other podcast people. We're working on that stuff. So as always, thanks for listening, and keep your cars analog.
Good night.
Good night.